how do you integrate life? How do you synthesize the parts of life that may feel incongruent until you dig so deep into them, you realize, oh, this is life. Like I was thinking about that performance the other day, and oh, me working and building this performance and being here in the Grammys moment and focusing on that is therapeutic. It's a way for me to transmit something to other people who may be going through that, but also for our family to have a moment of celebration, a bright moment in this period. It's a way to kind of channel my energy and focus to be in the present because of what the performance demands. The ways that you think about community in New Orleans is food, dancing, all this incredible architecture and these sounds and rhythms blended together in ways that you just know are from years and years of lineage. I give credit to my parents and obviously my community for sort of putting me in the vicinity, and then something clicked along the way. I don't know when or how, it just at a certain moment it's like, oh, huh. Well, my mother is a visionary. She was somebody who, at the beginning of my musical development, she was also very much a proponent of putting me in all types of other extracurricular enriching activities. You know, we studied coding. I was in tennis lessons and gymnastics lessons. And that was super important, coupled with the fact that she also had a vision about the environment and the planet. Before it was a trend, before it was in vogue, she was an environmentalist. She actually went back to school when I was in elementary to get a master's degree in environmental studies. And this is a woman with 2 kids who already has a career and decides to study something else so that she can get deeper into a curiosity that she has. And she's the oldest daughter of these incredible New Orleans icons in my eyes, my grandfather and my late grandmother, David and Henrietta Gaucher. David was one of the first wave of integrating the Navy. He was a part of the time when Dr. King was advocating for workers' rights and all the incredible things that that generation paved the way for. You can imagine in the household that she grew up in as the eldest daughter of 8. She had so much responsibility so early and so many values that were instilled in her and faith that was instilled in her. So there was just such a drive and a vision that she had for upward mobility and enrichment in ways that are not shallow. And I rebelled in that I didn't focus so much on any of it. Then eventually I got into video games and I started investing my time in that. And that was a wild feedback loop that led back to music. The soundtrack of those video games, a lot of that was influencing the way that I felt about music composition, because those soundtracks would be a part of games and beloved character themes that I was so invested in. And then that would lead back to an understanding of, wow, how do I play this on the piano? And then those piano lessons started to come in handy because I had a bunch of keyboards and things I could play. And then I would start to program music with my cousins, and we would start composing things and building things together. Performance that it demands. Once you get to a certain level of music and you have a vision that you want to share, then you have this daunting realization that I have to go stand on stage, or I have to find a way to share it. I got to figure out a way to be with the people as an advocate for this thing that's in my head. I didn't really have so many of the gifts of natural extroversion that my relatives had. So that made it even more evident. You know, I was like, oh, I can't do what he's doing or what she's doing. I don't want to be up there. So I think that was also a big part of it, learning to perform, having observed all of them and having observed other people. I had a Rolodex of things to try on until I could figure out who I was. Stay Human was like a Joe Saylor, who's still one of my closest friends and drummer in the band. We started out with no money, no gigs, no real understanding of what we wanted to do other than just get better as musicians and build a band that we could go and find some gigs to play. Fast forward to 2011, 2012. It's my last year of Juilliard. I'm finishing a master's degree program. So is Joe, Eddie Barbash, Ibanda Ruhumbika. We're going down in the subway. We're playing just for people, because this is part of this philosophy that I was pushing against and really trying to create my own version of what I took from the masters. How do I make a Jon Batiste version of this? How do I make a statement in the modern times? And so I thought, Stay Human. That's the band's name. What we play is called social music. It's music for the people. It's blending all of the musics to create a new genre, because genre doesn't exist to me. This is when I started to develop my philosophy. And we're going to play for people in the concert halls, and we're going to play for them on the streets and in the subways. And and it's going to be the highest level of music. It's going to be like if Billie Holiday or Duke Ellington or Beethoven, Mozart came down and played in the subway. And not necessarily playing their music, but it's like that's the level that we're driving for. So that's the beginning of Stay Human. And it made a lot of noise, which led to how we got involved with the Colbert Show. Everybody deserves the same level of respect, humanity, and ultimately we're born the same, we're one and the same, we all have those same desires. But at the same time as I was saying that there's a universal humanism, I was also celebrating the culture and lineage that I come from. So on the album, you literally have my personal lineage, which is, from my nephews, my mother and father, my grandfather, my high school marching band, and the choir from my grandfather's church. You have so many of those personal lineage elements and the lineage of Black American music. Gospel, R&B, soul, jazz, funk is all represented. So for me, the goal was to make a comprehensive statement that was very, very personal in terms of the nature of its influences. But in being personal, it establishes the we are, the universal. It speaks to, at the same time, as we're protesting in the wake of George Floyd's murder, you have people protesting all around the world and people pushing forward their real voice, their humanity, and trying to break free from marginalization of oppressive governments and oppressive regimes and oppressive systems. So that was really what We Are was speaking to in the universal by going back home and going back to a lot of the roots of the music that I was born into.